Hey guys, welcome back to Neuronify. This is yet another video on thermal injuries and we are going to cover the important questions from this chapter. So as I say every time, without wasting a single second, let's begin the session. Starting with our very first question, what are burns? Define them, classify them. What are antemortem and PM burns? Differentiate them. What are the causes of death due to burns and what is the medical legal aspects? What are the medical legal aspects of burn? Burns are classified into 6 degrees, 1 to 6 degrees. So according to which classification? Dupuytren's classification, remember the name. According to Wilson's classification, it is classified into 1 to 3 degrees, and according to our clinical classification, burn is either superficial or deep. So these are the three classifications: Dupuytren's classification, Wilson's classification, and clinical classification. So we are starting with Dupuytren's classification first. Burns are classified into 6 degrees. Okay, so what are primary burns? This refers to reddening and scorching of epidermis, results from being close to the source of heat without the actual contact. It may be painful for few hours. So what are primary burns? These are nothing but reddening and scorching of epidermis. So it results from being close to the source of heat without the actual contact, and it may be painful for few hours. What are secondary burns? It is actually these are actual burns of epithelium and may also include singeing of hair. It scalds within 2 to 3 hours. There is vesicle and blister formation. In radiation burns, there may be erythema and ulceration. So these are very painful because nerve endings are exposed. So in case of secondary burns, you'll be writing following points. Number 1, it burns epithelium. Number 2, it includes singeing of hair. Number 3, scald formation occurs within 2 to 3 hours. Number 4, there is vesicle or blister formation. Number 5, in radiation burns, there may be erythema or ulceration, and these are very painful. Why painful? Because nerve endings are exposed. So in secondary burns, just remember the buzzwords: actual burns of epithelium, vesicle formation, scald formation, radiation burns, and painful. Okay. What about tertiary or 3-degree burn? It refers to burns involving superficial layers of dermis. Fine. In secondary burns, only epithelium was exposed, but in tertiary burns, superficial layers of dermis are also involved. Within few hours, there is formation of yellowish brown parchment-like membrane. So parchment-like membrane is characteristic feature of tertiary burns. It is very, very painful. In primary to tertiary burns, healing occurs without scarring. Fine. So no scar formation is there in your primary, secondary and tertiary. So what are the important points in our tertiary burns according to Dupuytren's classification? It involves superficial layers of dermis, then yellowish brown parchment like membrane, and heals without scarring. So these are the three main points in tertiary burns. Moving to 4-degree burns or quaternary burns, burns involving up to deeper layers of dermis. Obviously, it is basic logic that if tertiary burns are going to include your superficial layers of dermis, then obviously next degree of burn will include deep layers of dermis. So in this way you can remember. So burns involving deeper layers of dermis. Burns are not painful as nerve endings are completely destroyed and healing is by scarring. Okay, so these are not painful because nerve endings are completely destroyed and healing is by scarring. What about 5-degree burns? Burns involving up to muscles. Okay, so healing is associated with scarring and contracture deformity. So there is contracture deformity because of burning of muscles, and the healing is associated with scarring. What about 6-degree burns? Burns up to bones. Burns up to bones is 6-degree burns. So we learnt about 1st degree or primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, 5-degree and 6-degree. So quickly revising: primary burns, reddening and scorching of epidermis, results from being close to the source of heat and may be painful for few hours. What about secondary burns? What are the buzzwords? Number 1, actual burns of epithelium, singeing of hair, scald formation within 2 to 3 hours, vesicle or blister formation. If radiation burns, then there may be erythema and ulceration, and very painful. Why? Because nerve endings are exposed. In tertiary burns, we have superficial layers of dermis, then yellowish brown parchment like membrane, very painful, and your primary to tertiary heals without scarring. Okay. What about quaternary burns? Deeper layers of dermis. Burns are not painful because the endings are completely destroyed and healing is by scarring. What about 5-degree and 6-degree? In 5-degree, muscles are involved, and in 6-degree, your bones are involved. And in 4, 5 and 6, scarring is observed. So these are the points regarding Dupuytren's classification. What about Wilson's classification? Wilson divides the burns only in primary, secondary and tertiary burns. So what are primary burns? These are known as superficial or epidermal burns, and and it includes the primary and secondary burns of Dupuytren's classification. Fine. So Wilson's primary burns consist of Dupuytren's primary burns as well as secondary burns. What about secondary burns? These are known as dermoepidermal burns, and it includes Dupuytren's tertiary and quaternary burns. Fine. What about tertiary burns of your Wilson? Known as deep burns include Dupuytren's 5 and 6. So I hope you people understood. You just have to segregate the Dupuytren's classification into two units. So 1 and 2 are there in 1 and 2 are present in primary burns of Wilson. Then your 3 and 4 are there in secondary burns of Wilson, and your 5 and 6 are present in third degree burns in Wilson. So this is all about the Wilson's classification of burns. Now what about clinical or therapeutic classification? See, only two parts, superficial and deep burns. What about superficial? Superficial includes Wilson's primary and secondary, and deep includes Wilson's third degree. So I hope you people understood Dupuytren's classification, Wilson's classification and your clinical classification. Few more points about burns. Burns can result in singeing of hair, burning of superficial and deep layers of epidermis, and maybe deeper body parts. Injuries depend upon type of source of heat, that is flame, hot liquids, corrosives, radiations or electric current. So one thing you have to remember, that whenever we strike a burn word in our mind, or whenever burn word strikes in our mind, we always tend to pay attention towards fire, because burn is mostly associated with fire. But we all have to remember that burns may occur due to flame, due to hot liquids also, corrosives also, radiations and electric current also. So this is very important point, because I get often confused with burns, because I always think burns are associated with fire, but no, burns are associated with hot liquids also, corrosives, radiations and electric current. So moving to causes of death in burns. What are the causes? Causes of death in burns may be your how many causes are there? In total we have got 16 causes. Okay, so number one cause is neurogenic shock, which is primary shock obviously. Hypovolemic shock, which is secondary shock. Electrolyte imbalance, especially hypokalemia. Then suffocation. So in burning of organic matter, CO and CO2 are released. In burning of nitrocellulose film, you have NO2 and N2O4 released. And in burning of wool or silk, NH3, HCN or H2S, hydrogen sulfide or SO2 gas is released. So because of this, suffocation may occur. What are the gases? Carbon monoxide and CO2, NO2 and N2O4, and your ammonia, H2S, SO3 and HCN. So these are the gases, few of the gases. Just if you could write only 3 to 4 names, then that would be fine. Neurogenic shock, hypovolemic shock, electrolyte imbalance, especially hypokalemia, and suffocation. So these are the very 4 points of cause of death. Fifth, circulatory failure, renal failure, adrenal crisis, centrilobular necrosis of liver, tubular necrosis of kidney, and infection. In infection, we are going to have septicemia, tetanus and gangrene. So repeat it after me. Neurogenic shock, hypovolemic shock, electrolyte imbalance, suffocation due to gases such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, then hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, NO2 and your HCl. Then circulatory failure is there, heart fails, renal failure, my kidneys fail, basically patient's kidney fail, adrenal crisis, centrilobular necrosis of liver, tubular necrosis of kidney and infection. So what is infection due to septicemia, infection like septicemia, tetanus and gangrene. What about the remaining 6 points? Fat embolism, increased carboxyhemoglobin levels, cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, exhaustion, injuries due to collapse of building. So you can think of every possible reason to write in cause of deaths under the burns. So in total we are going to have 16 points. I want you people to divide these 16 points in 4 parts of 4 points each. So what are the first 4 points? Without looking at the screen, you may memorize with me. Number 1 is your hypovolemic shock. Okay. Number 2, neurogenic shock. Then number 3 is electrolyte imbalance. Then suffocation. Okay. First set is done. What about second set of causes? Heart fails. So circulatory failure. Fine. Then renal failure. Then infection due to septicemia, tetanus, gangrene, and your adrenal crisis, because above the kidneys we are going to have adrenal gland. So in this way you can remember. Fine. So this is second set. Coming to third set of 4 points, we read about necrosis of liver, centrilobular necrosis of liver, then tubular necrosis of kidneys, fat embolism, and increased carboxyhemoglobin level. So this is going to be our third set. What about fourth set? Everything regarding edema. Okay, brain and lungs. So cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, exhaustion, and injuries due to collapse of building. So these are the causes of death in burns. So I want you people to memorize these in 4 sets. Okay. Moving ahead, now this is very important question regarding differentiation between antemortem burns before death, or say when the person is living, when the person is alive, and post-mortem burns. Talking about, so there are, in general, we are going to have only 4 points, 4 traits: line of redness, blister, vital reaction, and enzyme. So without reading also, people can tell me what is the point regarding vital reaction. Obviously it is going to be present in antemortem burns and absent in postmortem burns. What about enzymes? Obviously those are going to show reaction in antemortem burns than postmortem, because the person is living, right, in antemortem burns. So starting with a line of redness, blister formation, vital reaction, and enzymes, you are going to have only 4 points in differentiation. So line of redness is present in AM burns than PM. Blister contains serous fluids with proteins and chlorides. Base is red and inflamed. But in postmortem burns, it contains air and thin clear fluid. Base is dry, hard, and yellow. So whenever the base is going to be dry, hard, and yellow, you are going to find out ki yes baba, it is postmortem burn and it is not antemortem. Because if the person is living, then there has to be inflammation, redness. Okay, fine. So I think you people got this. So in blister formation, blister is going to contain serous fluid with proteins and chlorides in living being, and it is going to contain only clear fluid and air in dead body. What about vital reaction? I told you earlier, marked cellular exudation and reactive changes in the tissue cells present in antemortem burns, but those are absent in PM burns. Enzymes, peripheral zone of burn shows increase in enzyme reaction, and peripheral zone does not show increase in enzyme reaction because the person is dead. So these are the points: lines of redness, blister formation, vital reaction, and your enzymes. Now what are the medical legal aspects of burns? How many medical legal aspects are there? So in journal we have got 13 medical legal aspects of burns. So basically not 13, we have broadly we are going to learn about 8 medical legal points. Fine, 8 headings under 8 titles under the medical legal aspect of burns. So very first heading is whether burns are antemortem or whether burns are postmortem. So very first heading is in case of antemortem burns, whether the burns are antemortem. The features of AM burns are signs of inflammation present, signs of vital reaction present, presence of red line of demarcation is 5 to 25 mm wide, signs of repair, microscopy examination shows changes in blood cells and capillaries, presence of typical characters of blisters, presence of soot and carbon particles in respiratory system and GIT, presence of typical changes in internal body cavities, increased carboxyhemoglobin level, blood cherry red, and PM lividity is dark red or cherry red. We'll not talk about PM lividity here because it is antemortem burn. So just remember, blood is cherry red and due to increased carboxyhemoglobin levels. There is increased reaction to SH group of enzymes. There is increased level of acid mucopolysaccharide. There are increased levels of enzymes and histamine and serotonin. So these are the points. You can also include these points in differentiation part. But just remember, what are the medical legal aspects? How we are going to find out whether the burn is AM? So by these points: inflammation, vital reaction, line of demarcation, then repair, changes in blood cells and capillaries, typical characters of blisters, soot and carbon particles presence, everything. Okay. Second heading is identification. Identification of a charred body is difficult. So what they are trying to say, whenever first understand the medical legal aspects of burns. So what is the perspective of burns, or say what is the point of view of forensic medicine in case of burns? That is the only meaning of medical legal aspects. So how burns are going to help us in various ways in solving the case. So all those points we write under the medical legal aspect. That is why they wrote identification here, because identification of a charred body is difficult. What do I mean by charred? Charred means completely burnt body, like very black and last stage of burning, in which even bones are burnt. So that is the charred body. What about artifacts? Many manifestations of burns may be confused with other injuries. Then, whether burns are suicidal, homicidal, or accidental, burns are usually suicidal or accidental and are more common among females. Suicidal burns may be due to domestic problems or self immolation in protest. Accidental burns may result in kitchen factories due to house on fire, electrical short circuiting, then blasting of fuel carriers blasting of fuel carriers or due to fireworks. So these are the points regarding suicidal and homicidal burns. Suicidal and accidental burns. Homicidal burns may be inflicted by the master on the servant or by in-laws on the daughter-in-law or by petrol bombs. Extensive amount of kerosene used favors non-accidental burns. So these may be suicidal and homicidal. So whenever you are going to find out a large amount of kerosene, then you may think of suicidal and homicidal burns. Additional finding of mechanical injuries like poisoning, tying limbs, gagging, strangulation, throttling, it favors homicide. So whenever you're going to find out these additional findings, then you may think of strangulation, throttling, gagging, etc. Sometimes burns may be PM also to hide crime. Okay, so whenever a murderer commits crime, then he or she burns the body. So that is the point. Sometimes burns may be post-mortem to hide the crime. 8th point, at times burns may be self-inflicted to support a false charge. Dowry deaths, section 304b IPC, deaths by burning for dowry are common. In dowry deaths, that is death of a newly married female results within 7 years of marriage, or if she is less than 30 years of age, in all such deaths, PM has to be done and should be conducted by 2 medical officers, out of which one should preferably be a woman or say be a female. In likely dowry death, dying declaration has to be recorded by the executive magistrate. Okay, in case of dowry deaths. Spontaneous combustion, it refers to sudden burning of body of its own. This is not possible. So spontaneous combustion in general is not at all possible. So these are a few points which tell us about the medical legal aspects of burn. Whether the body is PM or AM, whether a dowry death has occurred, whether we can find out whose body it is by identification, what are the artifacts. So these are some points in medical legal aspects of the burns. Then what about preternatural combustion? Very rarely the gases of decomposition may catch fire and lead to combustion of the body. So it is very rare. Then visit to scene. In all cases of deaths due to burns, a visit to the scene of crime helps form better opinion about cause and manner of death. So if you are going to visit to scene of crime, then obviously you are going to find out better reasons, better opinions about the cause and manner of death, because you yourself are going to investigate the case, right? So whenever you are going to visit the scene, then that would be more beneficial. So yeah, these were a few points, broad headings in case of medical legal aspects of burn. Whether the helps to find out whether the burns are AM or PM. Then you are going to have identification, artifacts, fine. Whether the burn is suicidal, homicidal, or accidental, and whether it is dowry death, spontaneous combustion, or preternatural combustion, or it is visit to crime or scene. So this was about burns. Moving to next question, what is lightning injury? What is its mechanism? What is death due to lightning? What are the autopsy appearances? And what are the lightning fatalities? So you have to write about lightning injury in detail. So starting with our lightning burns. Lightning refers to discharge of current between a negatively charged cloud and a positively charged particle on earth. So the cloud is negatively charged and anything on the earth would be positively charged. Why? Because earth itself is positively charged. So this current is direct current, DC. The voltage of this current is 100 to 1000 million volts. It is million volts. The amperage of this current is 10,000 to 20,000 amperes. A flash of lightning lasts for 1/100th of a second. A flash of lightning affects an area of 100-meter radius. This is due to branching of current. Fine. So what you are going to write under lightning burns? Number 1, it refers to discharge of current between a negatively charged cloud and a positive substance or thing on the earth. Then everything about the current. What is the mechanism of action? During lightning, injuries result due to electric current, heat, expanded and displaced air, which acts as a blast wave. So what is the mechanism? The injuries result due to electric current, heat and expanded and displaced air. So this displaced air acts as a blast wave. Now what are the features of lightning injuries? There may be no injuries to clothes. Clothes may be partially or totally burnt. Clothes may be lying away from the body. Shoe may be torn. There may be no injury to human body. Body may be totally charred. Body may be grossly mutilated. There may be multiple fractures. There may be multiple ruptures of viscera. There may be melting of metallic objects on the body. There may be magnetization of metallic objects on the body. So what about 12th point? There may be filigree burns. You should mention this point. There may be filigree burns, arborescent markings, and Lichtenberg flaws. So their characteristics are: burns are seen as colored branching patterns, especially on shoulders and flanks. This branching distribution, like inverted tree, does not correspond to the blood vessels. The color of these markings is due to either color taken up from hemoglobin or due to deposition of copper in body. So what they're trying to say, you're going to find out some of the other branching pattern on shoulders and flanks, and this pattern is not because of the blood vessels. It is because of either color taken up from hemoglobin or due to deposition of copper of the body. In living, these markings disappear in 1 to 2 days, but in dead, they may be confused with marbling due to decomposition. We all know what marbling is. If you people don't know, search what marbling is. So in dead, they may be confused with marbling due to deposition. Now, what are the causes of death in lightning? Paralysis of brain, heart or lungs, neurogenic shock, cerebral anoxia, charring, multiple fractures, multiple rupture of viscera. So these are causes of death in burns, lightning burns. What are the medical legal aspects? Death due to lightning is always accidental, though it may be mistaken as homicidal because of fractures and tear of viscera. But obviously it is always and always going to be accidental death. Person in open field, on top of a building, under a tree or in swimming pool during lightning is more vulnerable to injuries. So in medical legal aspects, remember 2 points. It is always and always accidental, and the position of the person. The person should not be in open field. Moving to last question of our today's session, which is not last, second last, which is our joule burn. Okay, so what are electric burns? Electric burns are at times also referred to as joule burns. So what is the other name of joule burn? Electric burn. Technically, joule burn is an endogenous burn, that is burns produced due to release of heat from the body on application of electric current. So whenever there is application of electric current to a particular body, then body releases heat, and that heat causes burns, and that burns are called as joule burns. So electric current may be direct or alternating current. AC current is 4 to 5 times more dangerous than DC. What are the factors influencing the damage to body? Effects of electric current on human body depends upon voltage, amperage, duration of contact, contact with earth, alertness and resistance. So what about voltage? Voltage of domestic supply is 220 to 240 volts. Voltage of power supply is 440 volts. And main power lines has got to 20,000 to 30,000 volts. So more the voltage, more would be the damage, obviously. However, no damage is caused by current up to 50 volts. So if the current is up to 50 volts, no damage is caused. What about amperage or current? Amperage of domestic supply is 5 amperes. Of power supply it is 15. Then more the amperage, more would be the damage. So more than 250 milliamperes of DC and 70 to 80 milliamperes of AC are fatal. Fine, so 250 regarding DC in case of DC and your 80 amperes in case of AC are fatal. What about contact with electric current? More the duration of contact, more will be the damage, obviously. Contact with earth, better the contact, more the damage, as the electric current has a tendency to pass into the earth because earth acts as a good conductor of electricity. Alertness, damage is less in a person who is more conscious, alert and prepared to receive the electric shock. Then what about resistance? More the resistance, less is the damage. So resistance offered by dry skin is 2000 to 3000 ohm and by wet skin is 200 to 300. So dry skin is always going to have more resistance than wet skin. Why? Because water is good conductor of current. Now what are the types of joule burns? See, even joule burns has got 3 types: contact burns, spark burns and flash burns. Contact, spark and flash. Contact burns, they refer to electric burns due to contact with live wire. Classically, there is wound of entry and wound of exit form. So in contact burns, you are going to have entry wound also, exit wound also. Rarely, just a blister formation is seen at the wound of entry. So blister formation is kind of rare in this contact burns. But what are the buzzwords? Entry wound and exit wound are present, and it refers to the contact with live wire. What about spark burns now? These are electric burns due to sparking of current. Example, in loose electrical fittings, typically there is a pitted lesion caused. So spark burns occur in loose electrical findings or fittings, and there is formation of pitted lesion. What about flash burns? They are electric burns caused on being near the main power line without actual contact. Burns result due to the arcing of the current from these lines. So what do we say? In case of flash burns, if you are going to stand close to the main power line, then there would be the burns resulting from main power line is called as or are called as flash burns. Fine. Now what are the manifestations? Person may be thrown away due to muscle spasm. Person may be unconscious or in ventricular fibrillation or in respiratory arrest or in suspended animation. Cataract and optic atrophy may result. Usually there is a wound of entry and wound of exit. So these are the four manifestations regarding Joule burns. You have to define Joule burns. These are nothing but the burns, endogenous burns produced due to release of heat from the body on application of electric current. So you have to write everything about the factors: voltage, amperage, duration of contact, contact with earth, then alertness and resistance, and types: contact burns, spark burns, and flash burns. Also the manifestations. Now what are the features of electric burns? There may be holes in clothes, there may be holes in shoes, there may be no external injury sometimes, and there is wound of entry and wound of exit. So wound of entry, classically the wound of entry is non-bleeding, thick, leathery, greyish white, depressed, hard and cauliflower-like, typically known as crater formation. That is, the wound is 3 to 4 centimeters in diameter and 3 to 4 mm depressed, and margins are 3 to 4 mm raised. So in simple words, just understand, the wound is non-bleeding, thick, leathery, greyish white, and it is large in diameter, so why it is called as crater formation. Second point, at times there may be a blister formation, at times there may be pit at the site of injury, there may be a hole, at times due to heat there may be scorching, blackening or even charring. High voltage current may cause burns over large areas of skin, and that is called as crocodile skin lesion. So what I want to say is, just write about the diameter of the wound. It is larger. Then mention there may be a blister formation, may be a pit formation, may be a hole formation, and you have to write about crocodile skin lesion. So high voltage current cause burns over a large areas of skin. Crocodile skin lesion. The skin may get colored due to metallic pigments. Green, black, blue and grey. Remember, green, black, blue, grey. Green is because of electrode of brass, black because of iron electrode, blue because of copper electrode, grey because of aluminium electrode. And what about wound of exit? Classically it is like laceration and is bleeding, and it may be absent sometimes. So these are few points regarding entry and exit wounds. Now what is the fifth feature? With high voltage current there may be charring of body. I told you earlier. Sixth, with high voltage current, there may be addition to the fractures of bones and rupture of multiple viscera. Due to high amperage current, metals from the electrodes may melt and as small balls. Current pearls may be carried to the tissue. Calcium phosphate of bones may also melt and is seen radiologically as bone pearls. On microscopic examination, coagulation necrosis is seen, and that is nothing but electric necrosis. Secondary complications may be paralysis, amnesia, loss of sight, hearing or speech. Now what are the causes of death? Death is almost sudden if heart or vasomotor center fall in the line of passage of electric current. Sudden death may result from shock. The commonest cause of death is ventricular fibrillation. This is MCQ. Death may be due to sudden cardiorespiratory arrest due to inhibition of vasomotor center. Death may be due to cerebral anoxia due to ventricular fibrillation. Death may be due to paralysis of respiratory muscles, and death may be due to mechanical injuries due to fall. So you have to write everything which you remember in burns. Just write down everything. Now what are the medical legal aspects? Death is usually accidental, rarely suicidal and homicidal. At times death can occur during treatment, that is ECT and cauterization, etc. In some states of USA, electric current is employed for capital punishment. The person is tied to a wooden chair, one electrode cap-like is applied to his shaven head and the other electrode is applied to the right leg. Current for 2000 volt and 7 amperes is passed twice for 1 minute each time. So this is sort of punishment in USA. Electric current is a common method of suicide in Germany. So these are the few points regarding medical legal aspects of burns or say Joule burns. So what I want you people to write is definition of Joule burn, what are the factors, voltage, amperage, contact with electric current, contact with earth, alertness and resistance. Then types, contact, spark and flash. Then what are the manifestations and your features. Wound of entry, wound of exit. What are the causes of death and medical legal aspects. You can give example of USA and Germany. Moving to last question of today, what are the causes of death due to burns? We read it already, we'll just revise it quickly. What are the causes of death in burns? I told you to divide these causes in set of 4. Very first set, neurogenic shock or primary shock, hypovolumic shock or secondary shock, electrolyte imbalance, especially hypokalemia, and suffocation due to which gases? Carbon monoxide and CO2, NO2 and N2O4, and your SO2, etc. Then set 2, circulatory failure, renal failure, adrenal crisis and central lobular necrosis of liver. Set 3, tubular necrosis of kidneys, infections. In infections, we are going to have septicemia, tetanus and gangrene. Then fat embolism and increased carboxyhemoglobin levels. Then our final set, cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, exhaustion and injuries due to collapse of building. So just try revising these causes of deaths in one. So yeah, we completed our thermal injuries session. So these were the important questions of the thermal injuries, and I want you people to keep revising the questions and the answers. Until then, keep learning, keep growing. Bye.